Morning. Morning. Can we smash 5 256? We can. It's gonna happen. Not today. Thank you for the raid, Devil. D3ville. Brush! Old brush strokes. I'm looking at this, so Rose from Octopi did this poll. You could have, like, basically voted for the teams you think were going to win this month. Like a community top 10, basically. Here's the result. If you haven't seen the tweet, I'm just now looking at it. Some of you, just kind of scanning mine. Oh shoot, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1. some of these are just like, okay, it's clear what teams have more fans on Twitter than reality. It's still interesting to see. I did vote in this, by the way. I did submit I forget what 5 teams I picked, but I did vote in this. The real winner's Secret Elixir. Secret Elixir made grand finals twice and couldn't get the job done. They had their chance to win. Good stuff. Kit Kat's gonna win. Break me off a piece of that low wink win. You didn't know about voting? I retweeted it. Pretty sure I did. Can't vote till you finish verifying. It's never stopped me before. I'm surprised Team 7 didn't make this list. Did they they haven't signed up, but I still assumed people would think Team 7 would be a favorite. Did Team 7 announce that they weren't going to play? I still figured people would vote them in. Our top 10 wasn't wrong last month. Check the VOD. Nobody believed in Ikarioku. The mainstream media was saying that Ikarioku was trash and washed up and that they never win anything. I believe though. I was right. As per usual. Yo, Glitch Cactus. Yo! Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or a VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify, while you are claiming that you either won or lost a scrib, pinging me on Twitter in hopes that I will recognize your team, sending me an invite link to a Discord server titled Illegal Splatoon Betting Ring. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. How scandalous would it be if somebody were to join a server called Illegal Splatoon Betting Ring and saw me in there, how quickly would that go to a twit longer? I wonder. So to protect my brand, my pure innocent heart, I think I'm gonna stay out of that server. I do all my betting legally. Unless I don't. Happy Friday. You've made it. If you're still alive at the time that you're listening to this, you survived. You've made it all the way through the end of the week, kind of. Friday, if you're a 9 to 5 kind of person, your week is done. You get the whole weekend ahead of you. A whole unhealthy number of you decided to spend your weekend playing in low ink. Okay, I guess I can't really scold you for that because I'm signing up to spend my weekend TOing this damn thing. So there you go. If you're looking for some supplemental material, I'm assuming Nito is going to be coming out with their top 5, as they usually do, like a little low ink article preview. We want to promote that. Also, Rose from Octopi had a poll, the community-wide poll that you could vote in for your own personal top 5 teams. Or I guess it wasn't like your top 5 teams. It was like list 5 teams and some other demographic information. That has come out, the community low ink predictions. I posted it a little bit higher up in the chat. If you're looking for it, go to Twitter at @rose_arrow_spool. You can see the top 10 list there along with the honorable mentions. Some of you, I think this is more of a, I think some of that top 10 is actually pretty decent. I think some of it is, we'll see how many friends you have on Twitter. Or you can figure out what teams got a hold of that and shared it to all their friends. Be like, hey, guys, vote in this. But I like the idea of a community top 10. So give it some attention, drive some conversation about it. We're always going to support people who drive conversations about low ink. Rose has also shared a lot of low ink stats on their Twitter and has sent it to me as well. So maybe at some point I'll try to have Rose on a low ink preview episode, do like a little stat breakdown. It's not going to be next month, obviously, but we'll see at some point. News of tournaments that may be of interest to the casual listener of the Popcast. Obviously, low ink is still live. You can still register for low ink over the next 2 hours. I almost said next 2 weeks. No, you got 2 hours to sign up for low ink, in which case it is locked and loaded. You can't no more teams. I don't know if we could even fit in more teams right now, but legally we can still keep registration open for 2 more hours. Proving Grounds is tonight. Registration for that ends in 56 minutes. If you're looking for one more opportunity to get banned from low ink, Proving Grounds is a great way to do it. You can sign up for that. I will not be running it. I've given the keys of my Honda Squivik over to Toasty and Wolf. They're going to be running that show for the next month or so, or maybe forever. Who knows? But I will be commentating that tournament later tonight along with Brushstrokes. So I'll be there to some capacity, just not TOing. But you guys can still play in it and you can still watch it. It goes on later, a little bit later tonight. Tomorrow night, Squid Junction is taking place. I love whenever Squid Junction is going on at the same time as low ink. I feel like that's a great time slot for Squid Junction. I think it's a good cap off to the weekend. It is also good for us whenever we ban a team. We can be like, hey, you guys can go play in Squid Junction. It's the same day. We know you're not doing anything that day. Go play in Squid Junction. It's just as good, if not. Today we are going to be previewing low ink. All 6 gazillion teams that have signed up for this tournament. 6 or 7 gazillion. I'm also going to be giving you my top 10, which is infinitely better than your guys' stupid top 10s and top 5s. No. I got the actual top 10. Guaranteed that these teams will finish 1 through number 10 in the exact order that I'm going to list off for you guys. I've seen the future. I can smell colors. I know what's going to happen. Trust me, I'll give you that information coming up a little bit later. All that and more. But first, ladies and gentlemen, you are looking at the biggest low ink ever. Again, already, because this tournament can still get a little bit bigger. Here are the numbers as of 6:06 Eastern Time on July 21st, 2023. We have 220 teams signed up for this event. The total number of players adds up to 1,196 freaking players. Over almost 1,200 people are willing to spend their weekend playing in low ink. That is kind of, let's just call it what it is. That is ridiculous. This is a sad state for our entire world, our entire planet. But hey, that's we benefit from that somehow, and we appreciate you guys taking the time out of your weekend to play in this. Now, that number is going to go down. As we know, we kick out a lot of teams because they fail to enter their splash tags, and then a lot of people realize that their teammates aren't going to wake up on time, and when they desperately scrambling to find subs, magically all of those subs that were available aren't available for you for some reason, and they don't want to sub for your team, and you end up having to drop. So the number is going to go down. We all know that. However, I'm happy to report the splash tag issue isn't really that big of a deal right now. Out of the, what are we looking at here? Because the numbers have changed slightly. Out of the 1,198 teams, 1,198 players, 1,198 players, only 29 of them don't have their splash tags entered. Only 29 of 1,198. So we're really not going to kick out too many of these teams or these players when registration closes. And this is my ultimate counterpoint. Whenever somebody comes to the help desk and says that they couldn't get their splash tags entered, or that 21 days wasn't enough time to get their splash tags entered, or that it's a stupid rule because apparently we don't check the splash tags or something, 1,167 people have figured it out. The other 29 are the ones that didn't. I think you guys can get on board with that. Now, the reason all of you got your splash tags entered is because we've been doing this for so long. You don't have to enter it. You can just sign up for low ink and you already got it correct. Or I think we just kicked out enough people to where the word has been spread. Oh, they actually do kick you out for not following the rules. And I love that we kick out people for not fixing their splash tags, because you get rid of the problematic people early. All the people that don't pay attention and won't read things, you just get rid of them before the tournament starts and they don't bother you throughout the course of the weekend. It's perfect. You have to pay attention to sign up for low ink. It's a great thing, and over 1,000 people are paying attention. So that's the numbers as of right now. I like to listen back to previous episodes of the Popcast. I got 185 to go back and listen to whenever I feel like it. I've been listening to episode 141 recently. That was the low ink preview for the October low ink of 2022. In that low ink, that was the first time that we went from 100-ish teams and we ballooned, skyrocketed to what was then the new record by a long shot of how big a low ink could be. 170 teams played in that October tournament last year. And if you go back and listen to episode 141, you'll see me talk a lot about how stressed out I am, how I didn't sleep at all during the week leading up to that low ink, how I was worried about how that tournament was going to go because we've never seen anything that big before. how we had to spend a lot of time debating in figuring out what our changes was going to be. Because once we grow past 128 teams, we have to change what we do. We had to. We knew the last time that we went over 128 teams, we made some mistakes. We changed day one without changing day two, and you got a scenario where Red Sun became the only team in Low Inc history to miss Alpha Bracket after going 5-1 in their Swiss group. And we had to figure out, okay, how do we make sure that never happens again? And we came up to this format that we have now. 4 Swiss groups, top 32 group stage into a single elimination bracket. And I didn't know if that was going to work or not. Before the October tournament, where we went way past 128 teams. Like, okay, we have no choice but to do this. I had no idea how that tournament was going to go, if that format was going to be well received or not. And the vast majority of people, I think, understood. I think everyone would much prefer it be 16-team double elim, alpha and beta bracket. But I think everyone, after 3 or 4 months of us arguing with them in that feedback channel and them telling us, oh, here's something you should do instead, and us telling you, no, that's not a better idea. I think everyone's on board with the format that we have now for these things. My thought right now, though, is we can't get much higher, right? Like this can't be the peak. I said in episode 141 that Low Inc was going to be the peak, that we weren't going to get more than the teams that we had in that October tournament, that it was all going to dip back down then. Well, flash forward 9 months later, 8, 9, 10 months later, whatever, that October tournament that I said would be the biggest Low Inc of all time, it is now the 4th biggest Low Inc of all time. We've beaten that one 3 times now, including this one. Oh, boy. So when I sit here and say the 220 teams that we have right now, my heart wants to tell me this is the biggest it will ever get, because where the hell are we going to find more teams than this? This is everybody. This is it. This is it. There's no way you can get more teams than this. But believe it or not, I've actually been wrong a few times in my life. And that was one of the times. So as much as I want to say this is the peak, it's probably not going to be it. I don't think next month is going to be bigger. I think this month being July, the end of summer, school starting back up, colleges starting back up, things are going to dip down in August back to that 150-ish range. But I wouldn't be surprised if we did at some point get a doomsday level of teams signed up for Low Inc. And what would be a doomsday level of Low Inc? Like, what would a doomsday Low Inc look like? The answer is this. If you were to get 257 teams to sign up for our tournament, we're screwed. I'll just come out and say this right now. We are boned if that ever happens. Now, of course, you guys will say, well, that many teams signs up, but then like people will drop and then splash tags and all this stuff. Yes, I'm saying if you were to end Saturday, if you were to actually hit the go live button, round 1 starts, and you got 257 teams ready to go, checked in, all that good stuff, that destroys everything. 256, you're fine. You're perfect. That is going to be as stressful as hell Low Inc to run. But the format doesn't have to change. 257 is when everything goes out the window. And we're not going to hit it this month. We're not going to get 50 or 37 teams in the next hour and 45 minutes. But I'll be open. I'll be open here. I try to be as transparent as I can be about things on the Popcast. You won't get any other TO that will be as transparent as I will. And I'll open up the gates. I'll peek in behind the curtains, or I'll allow you guys to peek in behind the curtains. Here's what our plan is when we get to 257 teams. We don't have one. We don't have a plan ready to go. And honestly, looking at this month, we need to start having those conversations. We need to start sitting down, me, Hohen, and Brush, and the other staff, and just being like, okay, what is our plan for when this happens? So here's a couple of things that we can do. And as far as I can conceive, there's only two things that we can do. First off, let me explain why 257 is the issue. So if you have 65 teams in your group on Battlefy will make you do 7 rounds of Swiss. It will force you to do 7 rounds of Swiss instead of 6. Now, there's probably some way to where we could rig it to be like, hey, don't actually play that 7th round, or we won't start the 7th round. We'll just stop it at 6, and it'll just be forever like in limbo, and we'll just go off the results of 6. But I'm assuming the standings aren't going to be like, you might get some sort of jank scenario where a 1-loss team needs that 7th game to make it into alpha bracket or something like that with 65 teams. But it does force you to do 7 rounds of Swiss when you have a certain number of teams. That's why we do 4 Swiss groups right now. When you go over 128 teams, remember we used to have 2 different Swiss groups? When you go over 128 teams, the same scenario happens. That's why we went from 2 to 4. But when you have 4 groups and they all got 64 teams in them, and you add that 257th team in, you got to change things again. So the obvious solution would be to make 8 Swiss groups at that time. Now, that's in theory, that sounds like, okay, you can do that. We'll probably have to check in like 45 minutes before the tournament starts instead of 30. We'd probably need that extra 15 minutes to seed 4 additional groups of Swiss to make sure that all goes over smoothly. But the problem with that then becomes, how do you take teams out of 8 Swiss groups and condense them down into something that can happen on day 2? You can't just do this. You can't just make top 32 top 64. Initially, that was my thought. It was like, well, we'll just make top 32 top 64, and basically you just got an SOS tournament at that point that you'd run on day 2 for the low ink only teams. The problem with that is you can't just do the top 2 teams from each group moves on to alpha, the bottom 2 teams move on to beta. The reason with that, now you got a 32 team single elimination alpha bracket, which for you guys seems like a great idea. For us, knowing that Europe is already being pushed to the brink with when they make it to grand finals, and we see European teams time and time again, when they get to a game 7 in grand finals of alpha bracket, that game 7, they get crushed. They get absolutely curb stomped. If Europe wants to win a low ink right now, they have to win grand finals within the first 4 to 5 games. The longer that set goes on, the worse and worse the EU teams play. Add a whole nother round, and it has to be best of 5. I'm never going to do a single elimination low ink bracket where it's best of 3. I can't do that to you guys. I'll do it in proving grounds because you low ink teams shouldn't be signing up for proving grounds anyways. But for actual low ink, we got to do best of 5. Those sets take a long time. Now, you could just also say, well, don't do it like that. Don't make alpha and beta 32 teams. Keep them at 16. You have to win your top 64 group to move on to alpha, 2nd place beta, 3rd place gamma, 4th place delta. And you got your 16 teams. The problem with that, and I've heard somebody suggest that, the problem with that, your tournament becomes a virtual single elimination bracket. If you lose once in Swiss stage or in the group stage, you're done. You lose at the very first round, but best of 3, you're done. Nobody has ever won SOS with a loss. You can win Squid Junction by taking a loss. You could win Paddling Pool Triton Cup with taking a loss. SOS, you have to go undefeated. It is a single elimination tournament under the disguise of a group into a top cut tournament. So if you're going to do the win your group, move on to alpha bracket, just make it a single elimination at that point. And I'm not going to have teams come out a second day to play a single elimination bracket. So really, You can't do the 8 Swiss group thing because you can't come down to 64 teams coming in on Sunday. There's not a quick way to disperse them down, whittle them down to a champion. It can be done, but it's going to be insanely time consuming. So with that being said, when you get to 257 teams, in my opinion, you can't do 8 Swiss groups. And if you can't do that, then you can't do Swiss period. So what do? We can't do a format that forces us to seed you guys. We can't seed 257 teams knowing that like 140 of them have no credible results to actually seed you. So we can't do like a double elimination bracket. I don't even know what it would have to be a 2-day tournament for a 257 team double elimination bracket. You can't do a group thing because that requires seeding to pull off the group thing. The only other option I can think of, and if you've listened to any episode of the Popcast, which I know you have, I am not a fan of the ladder format for a tournament. I love ladder for things like seeding for Ludi or the Academy Speed Ladder they used to do on Sundays back in the day. That tournament was a lot of fun. It worked because at the end of ladder, that was it. The problem with the Overlord tournaments is you have to do the ladder to figure out who your top 16 teams are, but you don't get your true 1 through 16. You get teams placed in jank seeds. If you do really well and you get the number 1 seed, you might be screwed over by getting placed up against a number 16 seed that just did bad in the ladder stage, had bad RNG in the ladder stage, but is actually probably better than you because you had an easy path in the ladder stage. So getting a good seed out of a ladder into a top cut doesn't always benefit you. Getting a lower seed doesn't really matter either. And there's so many ways to break the ladder. There's so many ways to where really strong teams can get left out of top cut and some baby low ink team can get into a top cut in an Overlord tournament. But I understand why they use the ladder for the Overlord tournaments. They don't really have any other choice. There's no other option for them to go with. And once we get to 257 teams, right here today in July, I think we would have to do ladder. I think we just have to say, to hell with it. We'll do ladder. Whoever's standing at the end of 3 hours as the top 32 teams, you guys get to move on. It's going to suck. There's going to be a lot of strong teams that are not going to make top 32 and they can blame the format for that, quite honestly. I mean, win your games, forehead, I get that. But some of you are going to get matched up against nothing but a team like Photic Zone over and over again. And while the rest of you are playing a bunch of teams that have bought the video game the other day. But as I'm sitting here thinking, you can't do the Swiss group thing, what other option is there? And, of course, there is one other thing. Cap the tournament at 256 teams. And I don't know. That's an option. We can do that. It goes against the philosophy of what Low Ink is about, being a brand new tournament for a lot of teams coming into the scene. We want to get as many teams as we can. We want to allow as many teams that want to play in Low Ink to play into it. But for the sake of the format, we might have to consider capping at 256 and being like, hey, when we kick teams out for splash tags or they don't check in or they drop because of their subs or whatever, then we can let people over-register and kind of do what SOS does and be like, hey, now you can come in, or you guys are the next ones on the waiting list. And maybe that's the best option. Regardless, that is why, that is the issue that 257 brings. And maybe we'll never get to that point. But as now that I've said it's not going to happen, we all know 100% it is going to happen. The Doomsday Low Ink is coming. Eventually, we will have a 257 Low Ink, and we have to be prepared for it. We'll see. Regardless, that's something to debate another day. It's a fun topic to go over. One other thing I do want to point out. In episode 141 of the Popcast, before that October lowing, I stated how stressed I was, how I wasn't sleeping, how I didn't know the tournament was going to work out. Here we are at a tournament that has 50 more teams signed up for it right now than actually played in that October tournament. I feel fine. I don't know about Brush and Hohen. I'm sure they feel good as well. I mean, we've done this. We're experienced. We've seen these things. May was where we got really tested, and we came out on the other end of that on just as fine as always. There's no stress. There's no, oh gosh, how are we going to get through this? Part of the reason being that we're so experienced, but more so you guys are so experienced at this point. You guys have played in enough tournaments and you've gone through help desk enough to where you know how to navigate through things. A lot of what we do in help desk with the website JPEGs created for the low inks, the low ink tournament, for all the other guides that we've made, it's designed around teaching new players how to find answers for themselves, how to go through these tournaments and not be so dependent on a TO and help desk. We're still going to be in help desk. We're still answering you guys' questions. But a lot of if you guys notice, when you guys ask questions in help desk, most of the time we don't give you here's the straight answer. We kind of show you where to find the answer. We look, did you look in this channel? Did you look at this rule right here that was right in front of your face? Like it might come across as us being a little bit douchey, but it makes things so much easier for us when you guys know how to find the answers yourselves. And so many of you have picked up on that. And so many of you are going to be great players in tournaments outside of low ink because we're teaching you good player etiquette. Now we're teaching you how to be self-sufficient, how to find the information that you're looking for before the tournament even starts. And I think some of the other TOs in Proving Grounds and beyond and other orgs and events like that will be thankful that we are teaching you guys how to be a little bit more resourceful. It makes things less stressful for us. And that is why, as I'm sitting here staring as I refresh the Battlefly page, 221 now, I'm fine. And on a personal note, as most of you know, we are 9 days away from Pop Gun Jr. being born. And that is heavily weighing on my mind. And I could not have welcomed a low ink sooner than this. A big fat ass low ink like this is the perfect mental distraction that I need. I can't speak for my wife, but this is perfect for me. This is something that I can focus on other than, did I vacuum the nursery again? Are we ready to go with diapers? Did we organize this room the way we want it to be? Like, just focusing on something other than that and just to get through the days. I'm excited about this low ink. It couldn't be bigger than enough. But just enjoy these kinds of low inks right now is what I'm saying. Because the Doomsday 257 T low ink, it's coming. Enjoy it while it's not here. And also, as I've told Brush, if Pop Gun Jr. decides to come 7 days early and doesn't want to wait to July the 30th, I'm just leaving. I'm just going to leave the mic booth. How weird would that be? Grand Finals, Game 7. Oh, I got to go. We're rushing to the hospital. Bye. You got this. I hope that doesn't happen, but if the kid's as stubborn as I am, we're all pretty much screwed. Highlighted messages. Gold Ebb 257 also has another issue. Time. You have to start low ink earlier, really, because PSC gets to start at 9 a.m. You can't really start at normal time because you have to stay up too late. Yeah, I kind of alluded to that, but I guess I get your point. The problem with the October low ink going into 1 a.m. is that we forced both semifinal matches to be streamed. So, we slowed down that tournament because we thought we would have more time to stream both semifinal matches for grands. if we had let that play out naturally, we learned from that mistake. It's like, all right, we don't. Now, we streamed both semifinal matches last month. That's just because it worked out that way. And we try to hop into that other semifinal match like halfway through if we can get to it. But that October Low Ink, that was on the TOs. That was not the format. Make Low Ink a 3-day tournament. I'm just going to skip that. Patam J, ladder would be a way to make sure less than 2 teams sign up. It's a threat. Yeah, it's totally fair. It's a threat. If we get any more of you guys signing up, so help us God, we'll do ladder. Try us. You'll see some teams drop immediately. Gold Ebb again. Long day 1, greater than, even longer day 2. It's on a Saturday, luckily. Yeah, but I mean, 7 rounds of Swiss. Nobody wants to do that. I don't want to even look at that. Waterfall's an option. No, it's not. Shut up. In all honesty, Waterfall isn't even an option to do on Battlefire. Like, you have to manually do things for Waterfall. And before someone leaves a highlighted message in chat asking what Waterfall is, I'm not going to answer it. Next time we have Rays on the Popcast, we'll ask him to break down Waterfall for you guys. No, K-Bot, no. Last highlight message. 2 different Low Ink higher, more TOs. The amount of TOs doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many TOs we have. We can't help you guys get through your rounds quicker. Unless we can. Let's talk about some teams that have signed up for this one. Who makes up the 221 teams playing in this Low Ink? Let's start with the silly names first. Because, my goodness, there are so many silly names of teams signed up for this tournament. First off, what a better way to start off the silly name section than a team called Splatoon's Silliest Soldiers. This is made up of Useless, Grodd, Sapphire, and Soap. Fair enough. We'll see what makes them so silly. Given some of the past teams we've had in Low Ink, being the silliest team in Low Ink is a real stretch. We've had some really, really silly teams. We had a team once that complained about their opponent lagging, but it was after they beat the absolute dog snot out of that team. Like, they 3-0'd them in record time and then dragged their corpse to help desk to complain about them lagging during the set that they beat their ass in. That team was pretty silly. Maybe the Splatoon Silly Soldiers can top that. I don't know. We have the Cheeto Chompers. Now, I'm going to expose some Pop Gun family secrets here. During the wife's pregnancy, there was a small phase of crazing for Cheetos. So it is fair to say that my wife was a Cheeto Chomper for a little bit of time. I am not a fan of Cheetos. I don't know why God created Cheetos. Those things are disgusting, but so be it. The Cheeto Chompers might be a fan of Miss Popgun this Low Ink. We got the team named Wi-Fi Problems. I wouldn't know what that is. I use LAN connection whenever I play in tournaments. You guys should do that as well. Don't have Wi-Fi problems. You guys should have some LAN connection problems. You got a team called the Ink Drinkers. Don't do that. Don't drink ink. I can't imagine a scenario where you would want to do that. So if you play the team called Ink Drinkers, beat them for their own good. Do it. You got a couple of different Splatoon team names after bands here. You got, of course, Death Crab for Cutie. I don't think I really listened to any Death Cab for Cutie songs. I just know the band name because they got the word cutie in it. You got not Pink Floyd, but Ink Floyd, which I'm pretty sure has been a pickup team name used at least 10 times at some point. Speaking of pickup team names after bands, whatever happened to System of a Splashdown? We haven't seen those guys in a long time. Maybe because Splashdown isn't in the game anymore. If you like music, we have the Eastern Island emote. That's right. The team name is just the emote of Easter Island. And honestly, Brush Hoenn, isn't that going to break something on our end at some point? The fact that they got an emote instead of the actual letters. And don't get them confused with the team Bing Bang. Bing Bang. Because there is a team called Bing Bang, and they do not have the Easter Island emote into their thing. So two completely different things, but when you think about it in Splatoon sense, they hold the same kind of meaning. The best Splatoon team name that we have in the silly category, of course, goes to, say it with me now, Splabooey. Perfect. Splabooey just rolls off the tongue. How good is Splabooey? Well, they went 3-3 the last time they played back in Low Ink of March in this tournament. So Splabooey, if they ever make it to a point to where I'm commentating them late onto Sunday, I'm going to be super excited. I'm going to have to come up with something kind of silly to go along with Splabooey there. They're knocking on the door of getting better. The luckiest ducks. Well, they better be lucky. This, from what we can tell, this is the first tournament they've ever played in. So, well, we'll see how lucky you guys are to be the luckiest ducks ever. So be it. Now, don't get this team Luckiest Ducks confused with the other team Metal Geese. And I just want to say this on the record. I want it recorded on the podcast. I hate geese. Geese are the worst animal on this planet, and it's not even close. They're an endangered or protected species, or whatever, so you can't touch them or anything like that. All they do is just poop all over the place. If they make a nest in your yard, they just own your yard for like the next couple of months. If you get anywhere close to them, even if you're not walking towards them, they just start hissing at you, and they'll square up at you. One of these little sons of bitches, as I was driving my car, got in front of it and squared up on me like it was going to fight my car, and I can't hit it, even though it's just standing right in front of me. Basically challenged me to a one-on-one. I swear, man, if they weren't protected, I would haul off and punch them right in their stupid little throats. I hate geese. Good luck to Metal Geese, though. You got the team Low Intelligence Specimens that are playing in this lowing. Hey, Low Intelligence Specimens. That sounds like a play on you guys, right? You guys are the idiots in chat. Is somebody trying to make fun of you guys by saying you're low intelligence specimens? Is that evil Pop Guns chat? Is that what that is? No, because there is a team called the Idiots in Chat that has signed up for this Low Ink, and they're using my picture as their logo. So what we have here is yet again another Pop Gun pickup team playing in Low Ink. Now, I've said this many a time. If you're going to use my name or my likeness as a pickup team name in Low Ink, you have to do good. So many teams that are related to my name sucked, have absolutely crapped the bed when it comes to playing in Low Ink. I don't think a Pop Gun related team has ever even come close to making Alpha Bracket. Meanwhile, the one JPEG pickup team name made Alpha Bracket the first time. And the only time. JPEG is 1 for 1. I'm like 0 for 28. So, idiots in chat, I'm going to be beyond frustrated if you guys do not make Alpha Bracket. I need this. Come on. You guys are soiling my name with how bad you're playing in these tournaments. Come on. The last silly team name that we got here is Obama's New Groove. I wish. Man, not to get into politics, but simpler times. Man, I would go back to it. I wish Obama had a new groove, but whatever. We're moving on. Now, serious mode. We've gone through all the silly stuff. Now, what teams do we actually need to pay attention to here? What teams are not in the top 10, even though some guys have them in the community top 10 for some reason, that need our attention brought onto it? First off, overtime. Yes, the reigning LSL champions. I'm happy that overtime got that win. Now what are they going to do with it? They made top 32 last time they played in low ink. They were threatening to make alpha bracket. Can they make alpha bracket? Anytime you win Little Squid League, there's going to be more eyeballs on you, especially all the other Little Squid League teams. Now that they know that you won it, they're going to be like, oh, I want to get a piece of that. I want to take shots at you. And not everybody is Octopi, right? Where you win a Little Squid League, you play in one low ink, and then you're automatically banned before you can win it. Not everybody's that good. So it's not fair to say, is this team going to be the next Octopi? But what are the fighting elementals of overtime going to do when they don't fall off the map while they're on stream? Tea Time. I've talked about Tea Time a lot because I love their logo. I love the Tea Time logo. But the main reason I talk about them a lot is because they're pretty good. And they're actually starting to rack up some decent results. Is this going to be a time where Tea Time really steps up and we have to put them on stream so that all of you get to see how cool their logo is because they're playing that good? We shall see. Devour is playing in this low ink. And Devour, if you don't know anything about this team and you haven't been paying attention to them, you're missing out. These guys are going to be pretty good. This is basically, for the most part, players from that Banana Split team, that the college team that did pretty well when they played in low ink and other tournaments as well. I'm assuming they graduated, picked up a different player that wasn't a part of whatever university. Were they like UCSD or something? No, like I don't know. There's some school in California, the Banana Slugs, I believe, is their actual mascot. But Devour is going to do pretty good in this one. Keep an eye out for them. Lullaby is back. We haven't seen Lullaby play since April was the last time that they played, but they were an alpha regular whenever they took place. And actually, I think at one point I had them in my top 10. Everything's gonna be all right. Rockabye. We'll see if Lullaby can get back into the top 10 with some play this month. Royal Succulents. I know I've talked about these guys because I had to look up what a royal succulent is. Turns out it is a desert flower. I think it's a desert flower, actually. They went 4-2 that the last time they played in low ink, which was last month. There's an opportunity for growth for this royal succulent squad. The Fallen Ravens had a huge pop-off over this last low ink. They went 4-2 in their Swiss stage after being like a 3-3, 2-4 kind of team. This is now an opportunity to say, was that a fluke or is this the new standard? The Fallen Ravens are a team we'll be keeping an eye on. Speaking of teams keeping an eye on fluke or new standard, the Whip Rays are 100% in that category. The Whip Rays looked fantastic last month. I gave them my winner roll, the biggest winner from the Swiss stage. Last time they went 4-2, I believe they went 4-2 or 5-1. I think they went 4-2. They qualified for top 32 and did pretty well in the top 32 stage, though all I believe falling to beta brackets. They got pretty close to alpha. But Whip Rays, is this the next jump? Is this the next standard, or are they going to dip back down? Plenty of opportunities for teams to play against to get a good feel for that thing. The Grisco Worker Union. We've seen consistent growth out of this team that I'm going to mispronounce again, and AirSign is going to call me out for it, but they are from the Worcester Polytech Institute of Technology, which is Worcester. The Worcester? Is it Worcester? The Worcester. Okay, why don't they just spell it like that then? If it's supposed to be pronounced Worcester, it should just be spelled like that. Regardless, the Grisco Worker Union still, oh, wow, dang it, still wrong. I can't even read it the way it's supposed to be spelled out there. Regardless, Grisco Worker Union is a strong college team, and they are going to be doing a continued growth as they've shown over the past couple of months. Hopefully this is the third time where they make top 32 in a row. The last team I'm going to mention here in this section is a team that usually pays attention to any time and will go crazy whenever I mention their name and will be angry whenever I don't mention their name. Arcadia. They won Gamma Bracket last month, and I'm willing to bet in the illegal bets channel that this is not the bracket that they wanted to win. Hats off to them for playing in Gamma Bracket and winning it anyways. But Arcadia is a team that wants to win Alpha. They want to be a contender in the top 10. So I'll mention them here, and they have yet another opportunity to prove me incorrect, as does everybody else. Yosemite, yeah, Yosemite, yeah, I was on Yosemite for a bit. Highlighted messages. A little gravy bread. I'll bet everything on Popcorn related teams in the betting ring right now, for real. Don't sell. You won Gamma Bracket? Did you? Did I just lie about that? Yeah, I did just lie about that. Where did I get that information from? Oh, you won Delta Bracket back in May. That's what I'm doing. Did Arcadia even play last night? Yeah, they did. What'd they do? I don't know. I got that information wrong. I lied on the podcast. Oh, well. They won Delta 2 months ago. Thank you for the follow. Let's get to the top 10. Let's sneak on over into the top 10. Now, this is going to be an interesting top 10, to say the least. And as I looked at the community at Rose Arrow _SBL's predictions, I don't know. I got some teams here. I got some teams here. I'll tell you guys which ones you missed. First off, honorable mention goes to Shine, which I very easily could see Shine being the team that wins this whole tournament. I just don't trust them. I don't know what version of Shine is going to show up and play in this event. So I'll have them listed as the honorable mention, but they could be a 3-3 team, or they could win it. I honestly don't know what to expect from them. The other team I got in the honorable mention here is Scarlet Fizzy, who I often get confused with Scarlet Inc., but it is not Scarlet Inc., it is Scarlet Fizzy. Scarlet Inc. is the team that constantly makes third place in Little Squid League. Scarlet Fizzy went 5-1 last month, and I believe they dropped before the top 32 stage. Scarlet Fizzy is here in my honorable mention. And we're going to get started with some controversy right off the bat. Number 10. The team that I had in my number 10 spot has dropped from this tournament. So I had to do a last-minute edit and find a different team to slip into that top 10 spot. And I got to say, not just because they pinged me twice in my lowing tweet, but I've seen some other people mention Honda Squivik as not a potential team that could win it, but as a lot of people's favorites to win this tournament. I don't really see it. I'll be flat out honest. You can clip it. I don't care. I don't really see what everybody else sees in the Honda Squivik team, but there are a lot of people that are considering them the favorite to win this one. I don't know if that's a meme or what, because the results are not as impressive as some of the other teams that we have on this list, but I'll let you guys peer pressure me into putting Honda Squivik into the top 10. And if they completely bomb, it's on you guys, not me. Let's go with that. Number 9. There is a lot to like with Amora, mainly with what they've accomplished outside of Lowing. They won the silver bracket of the second SAC qualifier, beating Sub Power Up in persistence along the way. Take it with a grain of salt that it was silver bracket, which gets you 0 points in SAC, and they haven't really played in any other qualifiers that in the SAC season. But you combine that with the 5-1 record they got last month, and you got a team that is ready to take a big step up into Alpha Bracket. Keep your eyes on Amora, a team that nobody had in their community list. Number 8. My Lag Paradise used to be a top 10 regular many, many moons ago. They got top 4 in Low Inc. long time ago, and in Low Inc. forgotten the time. Ever since then, it's been hovering around Alpha until they vanished into the night. We haven't really seen My Lag Paradise play in anything in a long time. You see a few of their players here and there in the Low Inc. sub-channel, but it wasn't until this past SAC season where you saw My Lag Paradise finally return. And they've made a resurgence and have made their presence known, racking up some impressive wins, including against Triggerfish Zone Supremacy and Octopi. Could this be the month they finally take that step up into being the team that we thought they were going to be almost 2 years ago? We'll see. I believe so. Just remember, it's not it's my Lag Paradise. Number 7. Conductor Cap Incorporated came into the June Low Inc. as the reigning beta champions for May. They were a top 10 team on my list last month, but they didn't have a great showing. You know why? They went 0-1 against the check-in button. This time around, however, they should be primed for another deep run into Alpha Brackets. And I don't want to hear any excuses from you guys about how you didn't get the captain's role, or you didn't get pinged 20 different times, or we didn't hold your hand and say you got to check in. You guys can do this. Check-in construction, Conductor Cap Incorporated. I'm not saying they did that. Several other teams did. Conductor Cap Incorporated. If they can beat the check-in button, they can beat pretty much anybody else in this tournament. All aboard! Number 6. Jelly Squids are inching ever so closer to being a Low Inc. champion, like the little inchy worms that they are. Last month, making top 8 before getting revenged brought upon them by Aquatic Vanguard in round 2 of Alpha Bracket. But their run up to that was very impressive. They went 5-1 in the Swiss group, finishing in second place due to tiebreakers, and a perfect 3-0 in their top 32 group. Consistency is the key for this squad, who has always taken the smallest steps forward, but never taken a step backwards. Also, if you're wondering why my name in the IPL server is PobGub, they're the ones that are responsible for that. Jelly Squids is a solid contender from now until they finally get banned from Low Inc. Before we get into number 5, there's a couple highlighted messages, and I haven't been paying attention, so I hope nobody's saying anything weird. Virtuous Divine sweeps Low Inc. Trust me. All right, cool. My Lag Paradise was on our way to get 3rd in Low Inc. It'd be a nice glow up for you guys for sure. Let's go back into number 5. Kubata 2 Euros is back after their triumphant first Low Inc., where they finished in 4th place. In all honesty, they should have made grand finals the last Low Inc. They were up 2-0 against Team 7, who as of now still hasn't signed up for this Low Inc., so I don't think they're playing at all. They were up 2-0 against Team 7 in semifinals of Alpha Bracket before they got reverse swept by a Dynamo. Ugh. And from what we can tell, they have played in only a handful of tournaments here and there, because that's really the main thing that Kubata 2 Euros is lacking, is experience. They don't have a lot of it, and that's probably why they got reverse swept by a Dynamo last month. And also, this time around, they are not going to be flying underneath everybody's radar. Nobody knew who this team was last month. Everybody should know who they are this time around, and we all know how good that they are. Making it back to top 4 will be very difficult this time for Chubata 2 Euros, but they just got the skill level to get it done. Number 4. The curious case of C10. A team that played last in Loink back in March. They went 4-2 in their Swiss group and got eliminated in round 1 of beta bracket. Since then, they played in a bunch of open invite tournaments, though, and they've been getting some really good results in them, having some really good highs, including a win over Square Up in a proving grounds. And some of the other results they're getting are pretty decent as well. The team should make alpha, but my real question is, what does C10 stand for? According to Google, the C in C stands for conventional in reference to a pickup truck's 2-wheel drive system, while the 10 refers to a half-ton rating for of the truck's payload capacity. So I'm assuming C10 is just a bunch of pickup truck enthusiasts, but this is not a pickup team, and they should be doing pretty good. Number 3. Number 3. Let's try that again. The Cosmic Cherries are either going to win Low Inc. or get banned before the year is over. One of those two things is going to happen before December. They went a perfect 6-0 in their Swiss group last month. And on top of that, they found success on Sunday in the past. They won Delta Bracket back in March and Beta back in February. So they've had great Sundays and a great Saturday. They just have to put it all together in one nice, neat little package in the same weekend against 200 other teams. Easy, right? Anybody can do it. This interstellar fruit squad is destined for greatness, and they might just find it this month. Number 2. C-Drive didn't play last month. And if they did, I probably would have had them at my number 1 spot, ahead of Ikarioku, because I think they're that good. This time they're back with a slightly similar roster. They added Aloha from overtime, but the other 3 players, 49er, Slushy, and Kakirok, what? I can't pronounce that word, are all C-Drive veterans and have deep alpha bracket experience. Now, I will say this. One of the stats that RoseArrow_SBL on Twitter shared with their deep dive analysis into Low Inc. champions. And I was surprised by the stat, and I honestly didn't think it was real until I went back and looked into it. No team has ever won Low Inc. with a roster of 4 players. You might only play with 4 players, but on your roster, you need more than 4 to win Low Inc. for whatever reason. C-Drive only has 4 players on their roster. So if C-Drive wins Low Inc., this will be history. We're talking about years of history broken if C-Drive were to win it without adding another sub to their player. But C-Drive's good enough to be the first team ever to do that. But they're not going to win Low Inc. this month. Number 1, and my personal favorite to win Low Inc. this month. I didn't get a chance to talk about Minnow Cup since I took that week off from the Popcast. But it didn't surprise me that Surf and Turf was the winner of that tournament. And I watched it live. And I watched them go down 0-1 to Team 7. I still was not surprised when Surf and Turf won. What makes me a believer in their success that they found last month in Low Inc. is that they switched up their comps. And they were tweeting out, hey, we just did this tournament. We changed all of our comps. We've been practicing nothing but this. And we got a really good result here in this Low Inc. And I said on the last Low Inc. episode of the podcast that if that was true and they get another month of experience under their belt, that they're going to be a really strong team going forward with this new comp that they've discovered. And what do? They follow that up by beating Team 7 and winning a Minnow Cup just a few weeks later. And they're coming off of back-to-back trips to Alpha Bracket in Low Ink. It's time. Surf and Turf played in the Low Ink that my team won Low Ink. They've been playing since March of 2020 and probably earlier than that. It's taken them this long to be seen as the favorite, but it's definitely deserved. Do I think they're going to win? This is going to be a tough tournament for anybody to win. This is a wide open one. I don't think it's a slam dunk like a Karyoku was last month. But I don't see any reason why to not see Surf and Turf as the favorite going into this one. Now, how are they going to handle that? Because they've never been in a situation before where they went into a tournament with everybody having their eyeballs on them. And it's not just me. I'm surprised to see they are the number one team in the community Low Ink predictions as well, ahead of Galaxy Squids, a team I don't even have on my top 10 list, so maybe that doesn't bode well for me at all. But I will say this, Surf and Turf deserves it. Now, can they go out and earn it? That is yet to be seen. To everybody playing in Low Ink this weekend, good luck to you. Enjoy the event. Enjoy the stream. We got some fun little weekend planned for all of you guys. And if you are pissed off and you want to be, Popgun didn't believe in us, chip on your shoulder, whatever it is that you take from this to motivate you, because out of the 220 teams, you're one of them that I didn't talk about, because clearly that means I don't believe you're any good at all. I didn't have time to talk about all 220 teams here on the podcast. Don't worry. You pop off this weekend, you know for a fact I'm going to talk about you on the next episode of the Popcast. I offer apology when apologies are warranted. However, I got this Low Ink already correct, so I don't need to apologize to anybody. But you can check out that episode on Monday. If you'd like to be a part of the podcast anyway, feel free to reach out to me with my socials below. Twitter, Mr._Popgun, Discord, Popgun, YouTube at 25 Popgun, Twitch at Popgun 25, Anchor.fm/Popgun, TikTok at Mr._Popgun. And we need to find somebody to raid. Let's go to... Boom. Stay safe, get vaccinated, wear a mask when applicable, don't do anything dumb over the course of the next couple of weeks, and get your splash tags entered if you're one of the few teams that haven't done that. We'll see you guys on Monday.